known Steve for 20 years now. It's scary to think of that, and I've had him play in my band, and one thing I will say is that I want to have him here, because I saw his presentation at Gen in San Diego about 4 years ago, and was really blown away by it. So I was delighted to hear that he's actually doing a residency this weekend at Wellesley with Ingrid, and that he was available to come into Boston. But I knew him from NEC, so when he landed yesterday, he's like, "That's gone? What's that?" What is, so it was, you haven't been back here for like 15 years, right? So, anyways, let's give it up for Steve Treseler.
Cool. Oh yeah, you get that. Well, I'm still on West Coast time, so I just want to say good morning, even though it's afternoon. So thank you, thanks George, for having me. I told me it's my job to entertain you, and I'm going to present, she said, some outside of the box learning activities, which we'll get into. So I spent in Seattle, in the Northwest. I've spent time doing a lot of these group improvisation workshops. So some are jazz oriented, but also for some groups of people who have maybe never improvised, classically trained musicians. And it's really got me to think a lot about what makes a really good learning environment when you're, you know the experiences when you're in class or in a lesson, when we're just sucked in, time's flying, and we're really engaged, versus the experience of just staring at the clock, hoping it's over. And what really are the ingredients of that, which I'll get to. But I also requested, this is something unrelated to my main talk. This is a demonstration I did at the Gen conference when I was presenting on teaching beginning improvisation and really trying to prove the point. Well, coming from our man Clark Terry, who would always say that your sound, the rhythm, and the ideas, which I interpret as your melodic phrasing, is by far the most important elements when we're really quick to jump to, okay, here's the scale, here's the lick, here's the mode, here's the pattern. So here's my demo. So I'm gonna play blues. First chorus, I'm gonna play all the right notes, all the correct stuff, do the voice leading, throw in some good vocabulary, but play with a crappy sound and with crappy time. And then I'll flip the switch. In the next chorus, I'm gonna play in the wrong key, play all kinds of wrong notes, but with more solid time and sound, and then you can vote on which sounds better. And spoiler alert, the second chorus sounds better. All right, and with a room of professional musicians, I'm still going to use a little play along here. All right, so it's not Jamie though. There's not a piano. So I'm starting with right notes. Get this thing going. Well, they say play what you hear, and I teach a lot of middle school students. All right. Right, they like it. So, yeah, at the end, I ended on a B natural. It was really wrong. I was actually playing a bit of Solar over B flat blues, so it lined up in one spot. The E flat major hit right on the C minor, so just by chance, there was some right notes there. Okay. So, what I came to talk about. Yeah, all right, that was fun. All right, back to things. Yeah, that's hard to switch gears off that. So, the idea of building, what an ideal learning environment is. So, have any of you read this book, The Talent Code, Dan Coyle? So, studying some of the science of how we develop talent, how we learn. His thesis is the the talent is something that we grow. It's not something that just drops out of the sky. And he studied these hotbeds of talents, which are small communities that generate seemingly impossible numbers of world-class performers, in sports and arts and even chess, and kind of what these environments have in common. So this is actually a clip of an interview, not from the book, where he...
Think about the environments that light people up the most and that create the most motivation. And if we are going to sort of pick an ideal environment that does that, I would say it's...
Who's got something? What do we think of as an ideal learning environment?
Safe.
Not a classroom.
Not a classroom.
More creative.
Uh-oh, we're on.
Feeling safe.
Well, an actual example of one. Totally I agree with those elements. If it's not a classroom, where is it? Anybody? I like awkward pauses, so I can wait.
On the bandstand,
On the bandstand,
and then also depends on who's doing the teaching.
the teaching. Okay, so here's after studying top performers all over the world, here's what Dan Coyle says.
I would say it's a skateboard park. Like, kids go to a skateboard park and they get really, really good at skateboarding in a short amount of time. It is incredibly, incredibly motivating for certain kids. Why? Why? If we could teach algebra like kids learn to skateboard in a skateboard park, we'd be really, really good at algebra, right? But what are the ingredients of that environment, of that learning space? And the ingredients seem to be these vivid models of what you want to be. Not of like who you admire, but of the dude you want to become, right? I don't just like admire that skateboarder. I want to do that trick and I want to be as cool as him, in every way. I want to be that guy. And so when that identity piece gets put into the equation, I think that lightning is a lot more likely to strike. And the other element that place has, of course, is tons of repetition and failure and struggle. You fall off the skateboard a lot when you're first starting out, and you don't have a coach sort of telling you what to do. You're figuring it out yourself, so there's a lot of ownership. So this feeling of like you're struggling on your own in a sort of a tough environment, but right around the edge of that environment is this enchanted circle of people who are awesome and who you want to be, and you want to join that circle. You just don't want to sort of get a little better or get good to please your parents or achieve some level of competency. You want to be somebody.
So I like that a lot. The bandstand, that can be like the skateboard park, but this resonates certainly with my experience. Growing up, I was certainly, later on, really inspired by listening to Coltrane, Lester Young, but it was really in 6th grade, this kid named Sam who could really play, and he was taking lessons. I'm like, I want to be like Sam. And, I see the same when I have students that have like an explosive level of motivation and growth. It's not in isolation. It's not just because they lock themselves in a room for 10 hours a day and practice, although that would help. But there's this, it's this part of the community. And the identity piece, I'm a skateboarder, this is what I do. It's not like, oh, I've got to get up and practice skateboarding for 4 hours. It's like, going to the skate park, here's who I hang out with, and in the process, getting really good at it. And Berklee really has a lot of these ingredients in place. I experienced some of this at NEC.
Is that Venice Beach?
I don't know, it's a stock photo. That's a Pixabay search for a skateboard park. But here's me in 1996, actually. A few years before I showed up at NEC, but had to use this picture. So after a haircut, showed up at NEC. This is the Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival. That's right about when I was starting to get really into playing. And that's my hair, and it was like undercut. It was shaved up to here and then growing out like that. But yeah, when I showed up at NEC, it was this environment where there were lots of people who were really serious about the art and the craft, developing a voice, but it wasn't really cutthroat kind of thing where we were trying to compete and make the top band. And part of this enchanted circle was, we'd go down, it was some Berklee students. We'd go down to Wally's, and there was Walter Smith and Kendrick Scott playing, and
right.
And that's where a lot of the learning happened. And so I'm going to just a quick overview of some of these areas that create this fertile environment, and then I'm going to teach you all a game or two where you could possibly, one takeaway that you could possibly mix things up in harmony classes. So some of these elements, what makes something engaging, we'll get into that again, that draws your attention toward the learning environment rather than demanding attention with a grade or being a drill sergeant. Things that are relevant. We still run into this problem. When I was at music school, some of the classical musicians were like, well, why do I have to take theory? I should practice more. I don't need to know this for an audition. This one kid, who's an opera singer, freshman, says, well, in solfege class, he stands up and he's like, well, Pavarotti doesn't read music. Why do I have to do this? And he's like, well, you ain't Pavarotti kid, you know, sit down and do your homework. But I'm really making the case like why this is of why this is relevant, rather than just like, you know, because I say so, it's important. Like, you know, beyond that, really getting people to buy into that, and having this be integrated, that we don't want to necessarily silo that harmony is completely separate from your ensembles or ear training lessons, that this is all, you know, as you all know, part of integrated musicianship and the community experience, which we will get to. Let's see. So get into this idea of engagement. So what I call focus triggers, certain things that draw our attention into the present moment. Like when I see my dog, you know, like Doug the dog, squirrel. You know, I wish I could focus like that. It's just all the whole fight or flight thing goes straight to, you know, I can eat this thing. But as far as what commands our attention, you know, so we've got novelty. Speaking of squirrel, this is a shop in Seattle, Archie McPhee. So a little bit of novelty, unpredictability, right? If you're watching, you know, you tape the big game and you're watching it, and someone tells you what the final score is, you know, before you say, oh, it ruins the whole thing because that tension's not there. So as you can tell, I'm using some novelty and unpredictability now to hopefully get some of you to pay attention. Also, what Jerry Bergans would call discovery zone, which I really like. This is, you know, really self-directed learning fueled by curiosity. You know what it's like when you know, learn a new instrument or something. You learn to skateboard where you're just in that learning zone. Let's see. Risk is big, and that is, you know, our brains are wired that a creative risk, standing up and speaking in front of a group, actually triggers the same alert system as a physical threat. And that's how some of these extreme sports people, you know, really get in the zone, because it's, yeah, you get in the zone or you're dead. So here's, the video says this is the top of the Matterhorn. It's not really, but.
That's insane.
Okay, so again, you pay attention. Like, I have to present in front of a bunch of people. I have, you know, it draws our attention. So anytime, you know, we're actually performing what we're working on, I know Anne was talking about some of your culminating projects involve writing a piece and playing, you know, recording it and playing it for the class. Even having that kind of social pressure in a good way, that there's that creative risk, rather than just turning in some written thing and hope you get a good grade on it, when you actually, another way that community piece plays into it. The idea of shared goals, I think this is really important. We have enrollment from the students who are in a place where they want to learn. You know, if you're playing in a band and half the band is there because they want to make the best music, they're committed to it, and then the other band, you know, it's just kind of like, okay, when's the gig over? When do I get paid? If you just a few people like that, and it wrecks the whole thing because our goals aren't aligned. We'll get into this idea of Goldilocks tasks. So the porridge isn't too hot, it isn't too cold, it's just right. This idea of sort of balancing the skills and the challenges, right? If you have a task where it's way too hard of a task for you to complete, you get anxious. And if it's way too easy, you're bored. So this idea, the psychological state of flow, where you're just totally in the zone and totally focused. Some research has shown it sort of splits the difference between anxiety and boredom. And there's that little diagram of the flow channel. So if you're bored, crank up the challenge level, or meditate and just, you know, get in the and not always seeking novelty, but then what we're going to focus on today a bit is the Tom Sawyer effect. This is the idea of, well, Tom Sawyer was I was supposed to read it. I don't think I ever finished it, but he was supposed to paint his aunt's fence. And then he pretended like using it, having a good time. Then he tricked his friends into doing it, and they all paid him for the privilege of doing his job for him. It's this way of turning work into play. And I know some folks are resistant to this idea. Excuse me. You know, this is supposed to be serious, but there's evidence that we really experience profound learning through play. And again, it's one tool in your arsenal. I don't make everything a fun game all the time, but it's a lot of what I do in my group improvisation workshops. I draw some from improv theater games, where if I say, you need to play a solo in front of everybody, it triggers fight or flight and they freak out. But then we turn this thing into a game where I have some kids or adults be like, okay, we're playing channel surfing, so now it's your channel. Now it's your channel. We go around and then we're having, you know, then instead of feeling like you're put on the spot, you're playing a game with your friends and you feel like you belong, and that kind of sidesteps some of the fear response. So I'm going to teach you a game. This is inspired from an unlikely place. This is from my daughter's piano lessons when she was 4. She my friend Michael Stegner, he runs the studio called Creative Music Adventures. Actually, his publishing company published my book. And so my daughter started, she's 6 now, and it's a group class. So she started with a bunch of 4-year-olds, and they start with minimal cymbals. They just have a 1-line staff and do do, re, mi, and they do body solfege, and they compose pieces, and they have dance parties. And she loves going because all our buddies are there. And so the skill development is aligned. Well, also there's these ingenious learning games. And I took the training, so I learned some of these games. So I'm at home like, okay, Addie, it's time to play your piano. She's like, I don't feel like it. You know, so instead of being like, well, you have to because your teacher says, you know, I say, okay, do you want to play the cupcake game? No. Okay, how about you're the teacher and I'm the student? No. Island games. Like, yeah, let's play the island game, which is every time she plays a repetition, she tells me what animal to draw on the whiteboard. I draw an island, and then, so here's an example of our Star Wars version of island. So she got through all our stuff. It took a while. I had to Google Millennium Falcon to remember what that looked like. So there's that, and then she just gleefully plays through all the stuff. She's doing the repetitions, and it's genius seeing how that works with her, because you can even threat, you know, if she doesn't want to play piano, oh, are you sure you don't want to do, you know, do you not want to do lessons anymore? You know, sometimes that threat is like, fine, I'll quit lessons. But she's like, no, I want to go see, you know, she loves her teacher and her little buddies. So here's one. Oh yeah, there's her. She had me, she made herself a robot costume, and then I would program her to walk around the house, go pet the dog, go walk over here, go walk over there, go play piano, and then she did after refusing earlier. So that's the Tom Sawyer effect. And so here's a game. And yeah, I thought it was great for kids, but I started doing this with people of all ages. And some of these things, again, as to throw a little novelty in what you're normally doing. So here's the card game. Each kid has a matching set of cards. You can't really see them, but this one is, you know, do, mi, mi, do. So the kid will play it. We'll be like, oh, Ethan, do you have, and then play it. And then the kid looks at his cards, and then they put their cards down. And if they match, they get rid of the cards. And the goal is to get rid of all your cards. And then you also, well, to execute this, you need the knowledge to understand what's on the card, the technique to execute it in a way that someone else would recognize it, and then also the ear training to recognize the sound. So it is a game, but it really brings this integrated element into it. And what was I going to say about the card game? Yeah, so for like Go Fish, if I didn't say that. So anyway, I made some sets of these, so I made a slightly more advanced version. So I need 4 people. We're gonna play a quick round of the card game. So I got gotcha. Okay, what's your name?
Dave.
Dave. John. All right. And you want to come play? Okay. Yeah. Come on up. And you're Allison. Okay.
Come up.
Yeah. Come up. So I made a couple sets. If you don't have time to do it, I'll leave them here. So here's a minor mode version of the card game. So. Uh-oh. Here we go. A little bit of risk. See? Risk and novelty. We won't get through the whole round. But. So you look through. Okay, and you want to pull one out, and then you ask someone if they have the card.
So
you can challenge one person. Yeah, you go to the piano.
Go to the piano,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
We need a key. Someone want to yell a key out.
I got a key. I got a C. That's a
A.
great key.
What's that?
A.
A. Okay, we got it. Threw you a softball. So A minor. All right. So then you have to ask one person if they have.
Okay. So.
Well, yeah, just ask one person. Do you have this card? And you know they have it.
Okay, but play.
And play it.
Play what I've got on
Yeah.
here. Okay.
Play what you've got, and then you'll say 1, 2, 3, and throw your cards down and see if they match.
So, but do I ask the person now?
Yeah. Who's the person you're challenging?
Okay, Allison.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have this card?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And then throw it. So then throw your cards down at the same time. Go bam and see if they match. So
Bam.
Oh, okay.
Bam.
They both
Okay. All right. And now you. So here's the card. Actually, well, let me scoot out of the way so you can see what's on. All right. Who's next?
So now do I go because I won? So I go.
Oh, you won. Yeah, sure.
No.
I haven't even.
That would be a way
Yeah,
to do it.
let's do it. Okay, let's do
Okay,
it.
all right. Okay. Dave.
Okay. Pressure's on.
We're in A minor?
Yep.
I have that.
Okay. Hopefully still all the
Sorry,
time.
shuffle.
All right.
All right.
Okay, all of you should do one round, then we do, yeah. Okay.
Now you go.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
This is fun.
So, maybe I made it too easy, the professor version. There you go. In front of everybody.
All right. Oh my gosh, this is a hard one.
You have to get to call somebody.
And we're still doing an A is constant?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
For
yeah.
now, you can mix that up.
Okay. Here we go, John. Hallelujah.
Card?
Yes!
Dorian.
Okay. So you get to, actually, I'm gonna swap out your cards for the other set. This will be fun.
You want this back?
Oh no, wait, who didn't go? Oh, sorry, you
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, John didn't go.
okay, John, you're up. You can do one more. Yeah.
Here's your harmonica.
And you have to see, if you remember, who has which cards missing, and you want to challenge someone with more cards, because you don't want to accidentally have someone else win, because you have them do their last card.
So whoever
Whoever gets rid of their cards first wins.
Right. Oh yeah, forgive that natural 6.
All right. Okay, so here's another set. Pass these out. So now I just made a secondary dominant set.
Does everybody have one? We have an extra set.
Oh yeah, okay, that's for me.
Oh, sweet, yeah. Great.
All right. So again, if your class, you can play a version of this game. You can make it bingo if you've got a whole lot of people to play it, and then cross it off secretly. And you're like bingo. Then you have to check and see if they got the right stuff. That's a way to adapt it so you can get more people. All right. So here's the secondary dominant version. I just made up. All right. Who's first?
I guess I go first to challenge Allison.
We'll stay in the key of A. So now we're in A major.
Okay.
Okay. Uh-oh.
I have to think, wow.
I know.
You're like, how's a game for 4-year-olds gonna help us?
Ooh.
We're like, oh, God, now it got a lot harder.
Wow, my brain's not working. All right.
All
I'm
right.
not looking.
Don't understand it. It doesn't matter, right?
You got it.
Oh, see that?
Oh, all right.
5, 5, 5. All right.
Five.
One,
Five.
and 5 to 5.
All right.
Okay. Dave.
One, 5 of 6 to 6.
Yeah. There's also the 1, 5 of 5 of 6 to 4. Yeah, there's another one in there. So.
These are getting all messed up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No. Whoa!
All right, yeah.
Dave, I need you to play a little bit harder. So
Yeah, you got happy with that.
they get a little bit.
Yeah, let's do this one.
Oh,
Lovely.
feel that.
Yeah.
That
That's
execution.
not 3, 7?
Oh, yeah.
Nice, Allison.
Oh, nice. Should we argue about nomenclature for the rest of the time?
I noticed the 6 is really.
Welcome to harmony.
Yeah. I know. Okay, was that everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
That's good, thank you.
So we don't have to.
Allison, if you played it in like 6/8.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Come with me, my
Just leave these here?
Yeah, you can leave them in a pile, whatever. Someone can.
No, they were there.
They were there.
All right.
Okay.
All right, that was fun.
It was fun.
So we won't go all the way to find a winner. I mean, I grew up in an area where everyone got a trophy. I had a series of sports trophies, even though I couldn't perform. So Mr. Rogers, I'm special for, just trying something. So again, we come back to the idea of the Goldilocks task you can make. I mean, just take that game. It's the same thing the 4-year-olds were doing with just do, re, and mi. And again, as soon as it's the game element kind of drives our focus into the moment, there's the element of, the social pressure, sort of a safe kind of risk. I'm like, oh, I have to be able to deliver this in front of everyone, and the integration. So it is really ear training, some degree of technique and theory all rolled together. There's all kinds of ways you can take those principles and come up with any number of games. And oh yeah, we got some clarifying
I
questions.
love the game. It's awesome. I just had one question.
Sure.
What if you get? I mean, because I can imagine trying this with my students and some of them being so much better than the other ones.
Uh-huh.
How do you deal with like the ones that don't do well? I mean,
Yeah. So, finding the right. Sometimes when I'm teaching these group improvisation workshops, I've got some people that sometimes can barely blow into their horn, than people that can play. So finding some larger concepts that everyone can dive into. But for something specifically like this, finding the right, or that's a reason for them to level up. They come next time and go, oh, I've got to do this in front of everyone, so I better. Again, that can often be more of a motivator than the grade.
True.
And also, I don't know how we do this. I just heard someone interviewing some chess master or some really excellent chess player teaching their kids how to play. And the host was saying, I was trying to teach my kids how to play, but I just keep beating them so bad, it was really frustrating. And I didn't want to just play easy and let them win. So what do? And the chess master said, well, it's at some point when you're playing like that, at any point, the student can flip the board around. So then, and then see how the chess master gets out of the jam they got into from not knowing how to set it up. I don't know what the equivalent, this switching cards. Yeah, or different sets of cards. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But with how many levels of harmony, hopefully people are generally matched, and some people are always losing the game. I guess I'm just riffing on a whole bunch of answers here. But what did I do when on the basketball team? When I couldn't really shoot, but the other kids could. I don't know. I still got a trophy, I guess.
I do have to comment that you changed the dynamic in the room, both for those of us who are participating on either side. Did we have the answer? Hey, we have to play even the most simplest stuff, and all of a sudden our participation is like skyrocketing to 10, and the room was instantly way more alive watching all of us do that.
Yeah.
It's like, how effective. You just got exactly what the talent code is talking about, getting everybody firing and immediately involved. That's so
Cool.
critical in the class. That's great.
Yeah, that was the plan. So so there's that Tom Sawyer effect too. That it seems kind of dopey, but then as soon as you do it, as soon as it's even though you're playing a pickup game of like kickball with your friends, like, okay, come on guys, we got to get serious, and even if it's low stakes, the game element can help. Yeah, I take some.
Just thinking of all the personality types that I can think of some students that are like super hyper introvert, and even the thought of the game would send them just out to the moon. For the hour.
Wow.
What do you do with those?
I do, and largely when I'm doing this, it's in the context of improvisation. So I do lots of things all together where we have some kind of activities where everyone's participating at once. So I don't just start with, here's a microphone, you're gonna play a solo in front of everybody. Here we're gonna do some call and response. I will play a call and then you all respond together. So to deal with that, it's often having an environment where you don't feel, people aren't feeling put on the spot right away. Kind of figuring out how to layer that in. I mean, I'll do that again in the improvisation world. Hey, the three of you we're working on question-answer phrases. You're all gonna do it together. All right, now you'll play it as a duo, and now one person's gonna do it, and then they freak out. So, do it with teams. That's a good solution. So I said the way that I present these, I'm not teaching I'm not teaching harmony classes, so I haven't. So some of these things that are coming up for you guys, it's interesting to kind of hash this out, because I'm largely doing similar games in just totally different contexts, but you can adapt it for whatever it is. Yeah, I'll take some more questions until George. Let's see. Do I have anything else important on the? Oh yeah, I'll throw my contact. So, I'll take another.
Allison, before you go on, I mean, she just asked a great question.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that you need to start creating that environment of trust even before this game happens. And you have to keep doing it. So it's
I'd be one of those kids.
right.
Oh, yeah.
So you know that like a game like that requires that students have to enter in, and creating that environment from the first day is very, very important to allow that trust to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of it is, that trust element. You feel like you belong, you feel like you're part of the group. And again, the bingo version is a little less right on the spot, right away. And there's different ways of adjusting it, again, to try to hit that, balance the skills and challenge ratio. And yeah, having to tweak it, but again, you get to be, this isn't like a dogmatic method, it's just, you could all get to be creative partners and trying to take some of these ideas and, see how this could possibly help some of the classroom dynamics.
Yeah, we got another 3 or 4
Oh,
minutes.
okay. I'll keep going. Yeah, so I have some contact info up here. So I can email some of this stuff. Oh, these are some of the improvisation things I do. You can download those on my site, or if you shoot me an email, I can pass around an email list. I have some follow-up stuff I can send. Might not be a bad idea. Or I'll just send it to you, and you can pass it out. And then on my email list, I have this creative music blog, so I post all things related to music education, particularly improvisation, and other things. So you can connect with some of you that way. Yeah, and you had a question.
Oh, I was just wondering where we could get your book.
Oh, thanks. Glad you're on. So, thank you. Ryan told me to pitch my book, and I haven't done. So, this is the Freestyle Creativity Triggers for Musicians. Is a short ebook. That's sort of some non-idiomatic prompts and activities that I do in groups that aren't jazz specific. So, my bigger book, I'll send a link to that. The Living Jazz Tradition. So, this is a book that integrates improvisation. So, it's front loaded with some audiation, learning to play what you hear, rhythmic things with some drum tracks to play with, and some structured free improvisation before getting to tonal harmony, walking through just the very basics of diatonic harmony. I mean, it's similar to some of the things in your sequence, and then walkthroughs of tunes. So here's diatonic chords, and then here's Mac the Knife, and then here's some other tunes you're ready to play, and then here's secondary dominance, here's how it works, here's exercises, here's Honeysuckle Rose, and then it goes through modal harmony and stuff. So that's I'll send a link to it. Ordering it through my publisher, CMA Press, $35. Bargain for a textbook. Anyway, it's my pitch on that. So I was presenting some of that at the Gen conference, but these days, I'm getting more of these workshop things.
Well, make sure I get that information. I can pass it out to everybody. Thank you so much, Steve. I mean, it's this kind of outside-of-the-box teaching that we really need to apply to our presentations, because every student learns completely different. So just standing up and regurgitating information in front of them is not going to work.
Yeah.
So
And you can find unlimited free information. I mean, that's where, on the internet, like just have it, spitting information. We can find information, but what are people paying for? Like this. It's the experience, really.
Right.
Right. Not to cut you off, sir, but
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'll be around. We'll be hanging this afternoon. So.
Do you guys have like 149?
Yeah.
Okay.